your eyes. So we will have today a very small session. Only few muscles, important muscles are left. We will complete today that, and tomorrow we will have a test. I will try to conduct a written test. I mean, you have to answer that on, if possible, then in Google form, or if it is possible, then we will have it tomorrow, or if it is not possible, then we will start new topic tomorrow. And today's class will be very, very small because just few important muscle names are left.
And the anterior and posterior names of the muscles,
Hmm.
I think we need one more round of revision for that. Like it was a little bit, I think it was rushed up, that particular topic.
Okay, no problem. If there is any confusion or doubt, we will obviously repeat.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm sharing my screen. Is
Your voice is not clear.
okay. Let me go outside. Is my voice clear now? Hello?
Yes, you're audible.
Oh, and my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not getting you.
Your screen is also visible, ma'am. You're audible and your screen is also visible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So, uh, last day, I mean, yesterday, we have completed uh, till this latissimus dorsi, right? So, today, we will go to this trapezius muscle. So, trapezius muscle covers the shoulder and back of neck. You can see here the picture of trapezius muscle. Its shape is like trapezium. That is why its name is trapezius. And the upper attachment is to the occipital bone, and the medial attachment is to the transverse process of the cervical and thoracic vertebrae, and lateral attachment is to the clavicle and scapula. So generally muscles are having two attachments. One is origin and another is insertion. Now here this trapezius is being a little different. It is having more than one attachment, sorry, more than two attachments. Initially it is originating from the occipital bone, then it is originating from this vertebral column, from cervical and thoracic vertebra. If you go to the details, then you can see from where, from which part of this vertebrae, from the transverse process. We have already studied earlier what are these transverse process, what are spinal process. During the skeletal system, we have studied in detail the structure of a single vertebra. So, if you remember what transverse process is, then it is very good. You will understand from which part of this spinal column this trapezius muscle is originating. And one end of this trapezius muscle is connecting to scapula, right? Then it pulls the head backward, squares the shoulders, and control the movements of scapula when the shoulder joint is in use. So these are the functions of this muscle. What are the head? It pulls the head backward, squares the shoulder, means it helps in the movement of shoulder, and controls the movement of scapula when the shoulder joint is in use. Now, next one is rectus abdominis muscle. Also here it is named after shape. Its shape is just like rectangular. The muscle is having the shape like rectangle. So that is why it is known as rectus abdominis muscle. This is the most superficial muscle. Superficial means it is being at the surface level, means it is covering our visceral organs. Visceral organs means organs present in our visceral area, that is our abdominal area. So at the surface level of our abdomen, this muscle is present. You can see in men or boys who develop six pack, eight pack. So these packs come from these muscles only. When this rectus abdominis muscle develop a lot, then packs develop. So if you guys want to develop your pack, develop your rectus abdominis muscle. So from now, if you see anybody's pack is coming, you will always remember that those are rectus abdominis muscle. Located in the front of body, it is broad and flat, originating from the pubic bone, then passing upward to be inserted into lower ribs and sternum. You can see here it is originating from pubic bone. So where pubic bone is situated, we have already studied in the skeletal system, and our hip girdle containing 6 bones, 3 each side. Hip bones are divided into 2 parts, left and right. So the pubic bone of hip girdle is the origin point of this rectus abdominis muscle, and it is inserted to which part? It is inserted to lower ribs and sternum. The main action for rectus abdominis is flexion of trunk, flexion of thoracic and lumbar spine. Right? When we do Paschimottanasana or any type of forward bending, then this flexion occurs. Then flexion of these muscles occurs. Without flexing rectus abdominis, front bending is impossible. Right? So it aids force expiration. So in daily routine or during pranayam, if we want to realize, then do force breathing, like deep breathing. Deep breathing means inhale deeply and exhale completely. When we are exhaling completely with force, then this rectus abdominis muscle will obviously flex down and our diaphragm will expand. So when these muscles will flex down and diaphragm will expand, then our lungs will collapse and we will able to expel. We will able to exhale completely. Now, the most important muscle in respiration, one of the most important muscle in respiration, that is diaphragm, has come here, and it looks like a dome of temples you have seen, or in masjids you have seen domes like that shape. Our diaphragm muscle is our diaphragm muscle looks like that dome shape. Diaphragm is a musculo tendinous structure. It's not only fully made up of muscles. It's a muscular tendinous structure. A lot of tendons are present in diaphragm, meaning it's made up of muscles and tendons. It's a large dome shaped muscular structure. Diaphragm also serves as a divider between thoracic and abdominal cavities. Yeah, it plays a role as divider also, as our thoracic cavity is containing heart and lungs, and our abdominal cavity is containing different digestive organs and small intestine, and these all these organs, small intestine, large intestine, and different digestive organs. So all these uh, organs of abdominal cavity and lungs and heart of respiratory cavity or chest cavity is being separated by this diaphragm muscle. And it forms a flow of thoracic cavity. Obviously, it forms a base, or it forms a flow of thoracic cavity and roof of abdominal cavity. Just like two-storied building, our body is being means diaphragm is being the that separation or roof or ceiling, diaphragm being the ceiling of abdominal cavity and roof of chest cavity or thoracic cavity. It originates on the L1 L5 vertebrae, the lower six costal cartilage and the xiphoid process of sternum, right? And now you will ask, what is xiphoid process? Xiphoid process is where the sternum is ending, right? Where our sternum is ending, that point is known as xiphoid process. So it originates on L1, L5. L1, L5 means lumbar 1 to lumbar 5 vertebrae, the lower six costal cartilage, and the xiphoid process of sternum. So these are the originating points of diaphragm. It inserts into the central tendon of diaphragm. In other words, it inserts in itself. So like it's a dome shaped muscle and originating from the outside areas, like from vertebrae, from costal ribs and costal cartilage and xiphoid process of sternum, and then where it is inserting in the central part of tendon. You can see here in the picture, clearly shown here in the picture, like the upper part of this picture is the frontal side of our body, and the lower part of the picture is the back side of our body. As you can see, this lower part is showing the vertebra, one vertebra, vertebral body, transverse process, spinal process is shown here. And just at the opposite side of this vertebra, you can see this is structure, a bit different structure. You can see here, this structure is attached to xiphoid process of sternum, right? This structure is attached to xiphoid process of sternum. So you can see here, the diaphragm is dividing, or it is separating the thoracic cavity and our abdominal cavity, but our esophagus or food pipe enters from this thoracic cavity too, and this abdominal cavity too. So this esophagus have to has to intersect this diaphragm. So here is the esophageal hole or esophageal foramen. You can see, not foramen, esophageal gap or cavity for esophagus, or channel for esophagus and diaphragm, you can see here. And channel for vena cava, central ten. Wow, thank you. कोई बात नहीं थी. Okay, so central part that is white colored, you can see here, that is the central tendon. The center part of diaphragm, you can see here, that is white colored. So that white color is tendon, or that is the central tendon, or where the diaphragm is inserting itself, right? So this is all about diaphragm. And the muscle fiber of diaphragm combine to form a central tendon. This muscle plays an important role in breathing, as its alternating movement helps to inhale and exhale. Now, you can see the diaphragm muscle, how it looks like within ribs. So where it is situated, its location, you can see here in the just below the ribs. Now, deltoid muscle. Deltoid muscle, this muscle fiber originates from the clavicle and scapula and radiate over the shoulder joint to the inserted into deltoid tuberosity of the humerus, right? It is originating from our clavicle and scapula. Means when you were a child and you were given the vaccines, those vaccines were given in the hand, upper arm. In which muscle those vaccines were given? In deltoid muscle only. Yes, any problem?
Telling the vaccines are given on the deltoid muscle.
Yeah. So those vaccines were given on this deltoid muscle. So this deltoid muscle is originating from clavicle or scapula and inserting to deltoid tuberosity of humerus. Means it is inserting to humerus. It forms the fleshy and rounded contour of shoulder. We all can see our deltoid by capturing it in by our different hand, right? So it forms the fleshy and rounded contour of shoulder. Its main function is movement of arm. The deltoid flexes, decreases angle of joint, abducts, makes the arm move away from the center of body, and extends, increase angle of joint. All these are I think we have already discussed what is flexion, abduction, adduction, extension, flexion. So I think these things are clear if you remember all those terms. Now, next muscle is bicep. Bicep is a muscle on the anterior aspect of upper arm which acts on both the shoulder joint and elbow joint. So, at the anterior part of upper arm, we can feel our bicep that is originating from scapula and inserting to radius. And it consists of two heads. That is why it is known as bicep. Bicep because two heads. The muscle is having two heads. Each of one has its own tendon. The short and long head rises from scapula. The distal tendon crosses the elbow joint and is inserted into radius. It helps to stabilize and flex the shoulder joint and at the elbow joint. When we flex our elbow joint, then our biceps, we can see our biceps when we flex our elbow joint. Just when bodybuilders show their bicep, they flex their hand and they make a fist by their fingers and flex their hand, so bicep muscle can be shown more clearly. So its function is to flex our shoulder joint. Now, tricep muscle. Tricep is a muscle on the posterior aspect of upper arm. It rises from three heads. It is having three heads. That is why its name is tricep, and rises from three heads: lateral, longal, and medial heads. Name of those heads are lateral, longal, and medial. Long head arises from scapula. Lateral and medial head arises from posterior surface of humerus. Right? Long head arises from scapula, and the remaining two are arising from humerus. The insertion is by common tendon to ulna. So this bicep was inserting to radius, and this tricep one is inserting to ulna. Tricep muscle is powerful extensor of elbow joint. Right? It is a extensor. So just imagine when bodybuilders want to show their tricep muscle, they straighten their hand and keep a rotatory movement of hand, then they show their tricep muscle at the back of upper arm. So these muscles are extension of shoulder joint. Right. Now, the largest muscle in human body. The largest muscle in human body is gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus muscle is located in the buttocks. Gluteus maximus muscle is the strongest, largest, and heaviest muscle in the body. It is the most prominent and superficial muscle of all gluteus muscles. All gluteus muscles means more gluteal muscles are there, and important muscles are this gluteus maximus, gluteus minimus, and gluteus medius. They originate from ilium and sacrum and are inserted into femur. You can see here they are originating from ilium and sacrum, and they inserted into femur bone, that is thigh bone. This muscle is responsible for movement of hip and thigh, right, and assist in extension and abduction and medial rotation of hip joint. Just imagine when we are doing vakrasan or when we are doing gomukhasan, then this muscle is extending our hip joint or abducting our hip joint. This muscle is being extended by doing Vakrasan or Gomukhasan or Matsyendrasan, right? Now, rectus femoris muscle. Rectus femoris muscle is one of the four quadricep muscles of human body. We have already discussed about quadricep muscle. So rectus femoris muscle is one of those quadricep muscles. It this muscle, sorry, some grammatical mistake is here. It will be this muscle crosses both hip and knee joint. And yeah, this muscle crosses both hip and knee joint. Rectus femoris originates from anterior inferior iliac spine of the ilium and pass over the front of knee joint. You can see here in the picture from where it is originating and where it is inserting. Inserted into tibia by the patellar tendon. Right. Then rectus femoris flexes the hip joint and extends the knee joint. Just like when we are doing Utkatasana, then our knee joint extend, I'm sorry, rectus femoris flexes our hip joint and extends our knee joint. Means when we are doing this Paschimottanasana only, then our hip joint flexes, but our knee joint extends. Now, next one is sartorius. Sartorius muscle is the longest muscle in human body. It is the longest muscle in human body. So these are the very important notes, or this is in question point of view, these are important questions. Sartorius muscle is the longest muscle in human body, crosses both hip and knee joint, located in the front of thigh or femur bone. It originates from anterior superior iliac spine in the ilium and passes obliquely across the hip joint, thigh, knee joint to be inserted into medial surface of upper part of tibia. Right? Medial surface means you can see here inner side of tibia. It's not going to the outer side of tibia. From the outer part of iliac, iliac spine, it is originating and then it is twisting, obliquely coming, covering the hip joint and the thigh bone, and now it is coming medially to tibia. Medially means from inward part, coming nearer to the midline of body and inserting to tibia. It is associated with flexion and abduction at the hip joint and flexion at knee. Right? It is associated with flexion and abduction of hip joint. It flexes the hip joint and abducts the hip joint, and flexion at knee means when we are doing Gomukhasan. Right? Knee also flexes, hip joint also flexes, and hip joint abducts means hip joint is coming, sorry, I'm very sorry, abduction, right? So abduction occurs during Bhadrasan, yes, Titli Asan or Bhadrasan, this is occurring. Now, gastrocnemius muscle. Gastrocnemius is a large stiff muscle located in the back part of a leg. This forms buck of calf of the leg. It arises by two heads from each condyle of femur and passes down behind the tibia to be inserted into posterior surface of calcaneus or heel bone. You can see here where it is inserting. This tendon is the, I think it is the strongest tendon or longest, longest tendon, I think. This is the longest tendon of human body, Achilles tendon or Achilles tendon, which is the tendon of calf muscle. It crosses both knee ankle joint, causing flexion at knee and plantar flexion of the ankle. Right? So, this is all about the muscles. Now, the function of muscles provide mobility, stability, posture, circulation, respiration, digestion. So, and urination, obviously, childbirth, vision, protection to our organs, temperature regulation, most importantly. So, these are the points you should remember. Any questions? Any doubts? Any confusion?
Can you go back to the functions?
Yeah. These are the functions.
Can you rotate the slide deck?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, here. You will get all these slides. Today only I will provide you all these slides.
Okay, ma'am.
I will provide you, don't worry. Now, any questions or doubt? Hmm.
An examination point of view, we have to remember all the muscle names.
Um, no, all the muscle names is impossible to remember for us. It is only possible for the doctors only, because more than 650 muscles are there in human body. But
What you have taught, those now.
yeah, you should remember at least the names and their location, because these are the very important muscles and these are the very basic muscles of human body. See, so only 4 to 5 questions will be there from anatomy and physiology in UGC net. But we have to cover all these syllabus. When you will question answer, or when you will go through the papers, you will understand yourself only how, which type of questions may come, or which should be which part of syllabus or which portion of syllabus you have to cover. You will all, or you will have your sense, or you will sense it after doing some of question answers, or some after solving some papers. So don't worry from now. Go through the slides. If questions come any, if questions come from any part of these, your brain will remember itself only. Don't take means don't put a lot of effort for all this.
How many marks? Not only 4 or 5 marks for anatomy and physiology.
4 5 questions will be there only. means 8 to 10 marks.
Okay. What are
So
the